From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London. We're all taking a breather from the hurly-burly rollercoaster ride that is Ashes cricket. Tell you what, I've been at Wimbledon as well, so it's been a busy time of it. I've loved the tennis. Also managed to catch up with some family members this week in the break. So if you're ever in London and want to visit the Wallace collection, I highly recommend it. They've actually got a portrait of dogs exhibition at the moment, which suited me because I love the animals, and learnt a lot about Edwin Landseer. A bit of culture for you on a start of a Stumped programme. But yeah, been lovely to just take stock, have a pause and wait for the action to all begin again.
I'm Clint Wheeldon for the ABC in Perth, where we're enjoying school holidays at the moment. You talk about a bit of culture, Ali. I took the kids to the WA Museum, which I highly recommend if you're ever in the West. And it's also been magnificent for those of us with small children to get a little bit of sleep, considering that the Ashes, as you say, is in a little bit of a break. There's lots to look forward to, though, but it's been a really good week over here in WA.
Hi, and I'm Sunil Gupta for Akashvani in New Delhi. And the talking points really in India have been two, actually. One is the new coach of the Indian women's team, which has been suffering from a lack of continuity in coaches. It's Amul Mazumdar, one of the premier Ranji Trophy batters who never ever played for India, despite scoring over 30 centuries in Ranji Trophy and being, as I said, one of the highest scorers. So that's Amul Mazumdar. And of course, the debut of Yashasvi Jaiswal in the India-West Indies Test match, which is being played currently. And the thing about Yashasvi, if you don't know, is that he actually sold on the street. He sold snacks for a living and lived in the tents on the Maidans of Mumbai till he made his big entry into cricket. So that is the type of background that he had, the fighting instinct that he brings to cricket. And I certainly hope that he will do very well in Test cricket.
Well, it's an extraordinary story. Look forward to hearing more of him as his career develops. Well, it's good to have you with us, Clint, for this one, standing in for Jim. Now, it is 2-1 in the men's Ashes and all to play for at Old Trafford next week. We'll talk about that and Headingley in a moment. But we're recording the show in the wake of a thrilling finish in the first of the women's Ashes ODIs, where England have staged a comeback, having won 3 white ball matches in a row to keep their series alive. We've spoken so much, haven't we, about the dominance of Australia as the reigning 50 over and T20 world champions. And when they kicked off the multi-format Women's Ashes series with victory in the one-off test match, they took a whopping 4 points, meaning England had to win 5 of the last 6 remaining games to win back their trophy for what would be the first time since 2015. Remarkably, after losing that first T20, England have roared black and inflicting 3 consecutive defeats on Australia, who are also Commonwealth Games gold medalists, remember. The first time, Clint, that Australia have lost 3 matches in a row across formats since 2017. Now, they just need 1 win from the last 2 ODIs to clinch the trophy. England have got to win both. They've got momentum with them. Did you see this coming, Clint, after the test match?
No, it is an Ashes series, so we should never, ever put it in your back pocket until the series is done and dusted. But you're absolutely right with those 2 wonderful performances to start with. You thought the Australians would be able to just get the 1 more that they needed to. Wonderful fight back. We know how good England can be. Heather Knight the other day, fantastic with what she was able to achieve. But even then, that's coming off the back of Beth Mooney's unbeaten 81, with Australia putting on, I thought, 8 for 263 was a really solid score. So credit to England, I would say, and I think the Australian bowlers would be aware of this too. Perhaps they need to be a bit more disciplined than they have been. Something like 17 wides in that game. They wouldn't be happy with that at all. But we know that they are where they are because of what they've been able to achieve for a long period of time. And I'm still confident that they can get one of the 2 wins that they need in the last 2 one-days to get them to retain the Ashes. Who knows? But you're absolutely right. It's been a terrific fight back from England. And just like we're seeing in the men's, some brilliant cricket all around.
Yeah, it feels almost as if the women's team could well be shell-shocked almost for these defeats because they're just not used to losing. You've got players in that team who have literally never lost a series since playing for Australia. I think it's going to be a real test now for Elisa Healy because, she's not the regular captain. This is happening under her watch. She was handed the captaincy due to Meg Lanning not being available. And, she's not used to being in a losing dressing room. She's been at the forefront of an awful lot of success, since making her ODI debut in 2010. And 2017 and Australia failing to make that World Cup final is probably the only time that they've been in this sort of situation. Sunil, we talk about momentum, and momentum is certainly with England at this stage, even though, as Clint rightly says, the Aussies only need one win. But that suddenly feels like quite a big ask.
Well, if you look at the men's Ashes, and I'm sure you talked about those, Australia had the momentum after 2 wins, right? And they lost it headingly. So, yes, momentum is a good thing to have. But remember, cricket, you're playing in different conditions every time, right? You're not playing in the same basketball court or the same tennis court. I mean, conditions are different. And the other thing is that, exactly as Clint said and you said, that Australia are not used to losing. And I think that the type of fighting spirit Australia have always demonstrated, I think that's going to come back now. 17 wides, okay, that's something that they're going to tick and say we're not going to do that again. That's a big number of wides, not just the number of runs, but the number of extra deliveries. So it's not that they could not have won this. It's just that they played some loose cricket. So I think momentum is a good thing to have. England will be feeling, yes, much more chipper after these victories, but they will know that Australia, when they're down, they come fighting hard, and that's what they've got to guard against.
Yeah, it's one thing there that the wides, there are a lot of missed chances in the match at Bristol, certainly. And on both sides, they can tighten things up. So I think both teams will look to up their game when they next meet. The thing which really is going in England's favour is the crowd support, isn't it? The crowd is certainly being referred to as their 12 feet, and that could yet have a big energy for the England team when they have come up with these last 2 ODIs. Lots of action still to come, so I think a lot of people can't wait to see just how it's going to unfold. Now, what of the men's Ashes? Because that too is hanging finally in the balance.
England need 1 to win. Stark comes in, bowls to Oakes, steps away and slashes it for 4. And England have won. They've won by 3 wickets.
Spine-tingling finish at Headingley. It is 2-1. Still Australia with their noses in front, going into the 4th test at Old Trafford next week. A drawn series, remember, means that Australia would retain the Ashes urn. England need to win both of the last 2 tests to win it back. So, Clint, with this little break before we go into the final 2 tests, it does seem a bit of a good time for some reflection. So how have you found this series so far from the Aussie perspective, and what have you made of the way Pat Cummins in particular has been leading the team? Because, he's had some questions asked of him at times, and he's had to contend with being at the centre of a controversy as well, which you don't tend to associate Pat Cummins with.
It's been brilliant, absorbing. It's been as good as you would ever hope for from any series anywhere, and I think that continues a trend of recent Ashes series in England. I'm thrilled that it's 2-1. Obviously, as an Australian, I'd like it to be 3-blot, but it keeps the series alive, and every single session has had something happening. It's been impossible to look away. I've loved, and I hope I don't lose my citizenship for this, but I've loved what Ben Stokes has been able to do. He is just a cricketer that you watch whenever he's at the crease. It's impossible not to like Mark Wood. And we saw the troubles that express pace can cause any batter.
Great, wasn't it?
And then, it's breathtaking when you see someone who can consistently deliver a cricket ball at 150 kilometres an hour. But having said all that, love that Usman Khawaja's continued to do what we've hoped that he's been able to do and has won over so many friends with what he's done out in the middle. I think what Pat Cummins has been doing has been terrific. He's had to shoulder a huge workload. I understand, and I was, again, the same in the first test. I wondered about the fielding positions. Why weren't the Australians on the front foot, as we tend to see Australian cricket? But it worked. It was look, this is our plan B as such. We will try to contain England and we will get ourselves in a position where we can win the test match. It's not always going to work, and let's not take anything away from the opponents, who are a brilliant cricket team. So, yeah, we've had 2 successes which could have gone the other way and 1 loss that also could have gone the other way. I think it's been an absolutely brilliant series. I was, without going over old ground, bemused by the whole hoo-ha about the Bairstow incident, but I guess I say that as an Australian. If if you're going to be a bit dozy, you deserve to get punished for it. But other than that, that's added a bit more spice to these proceedings, and I think that's not necessarily such a bad thing. So all things considered, with a few things hopefully that never happen again, it's been brilliant to watch.
You touched on the Bairstow Carey stumping controversy. I actually think ultimately that worked in England's favour, because the feeling after the Edgbaston test, I think, amongst sort of English support was, a real amount of frustration that England had an opportunity at different times in that Edgbaston test match, whether it was runs that were left out in the middle with an early declaration, the missed chances, and that's been a continuous theme with dropped catches costing England at different points of the match. But that run out seemed to actually galvanise English support really behind Stokes, not least because of the way he came out and, play that incredible innings after the stumping had been effected. And that wave really sort of carried to Headingley, and it now feels like it's the whole country sort of against Australia again, whereas actually there was a lot of, I think, introspection around, well, is actually the Bazball approach the right approach? Is this team going to play in a way that will be able to beat Australia? Well, actually, they've shown now that they absolutely can. So it's given every England supporter in this country an enormous boost with Manchester and then the Oval to come. So, yeah, there's real happy levels of excitement at the moment. Sunil, what have you made of it as a neutral?
I tell you, we've been riveted, absolutely riveted. I'm acting the play right now, and we were supposed to be having a rehearsal on Sunday, and rained very heavily in Delhi, so that rehearsal was cancelled so we could actually watch the game. I was so happy about that. But let me tell you, as a neutral, I think the Ashes, they're the Ashes. It is something that we look forward to even in India. And you asked me about, what sort of approach and so on and so forth. We've been talking about Bazball, the Australian approach. At Lord's, they were outfoxed completely by that bouncer barrage that came through. And I felt exactly what Clint said. Mark Wood, why wasn't he playing? Why wasn't there
not quite fit
spinner?
enough?
Well, there you are. But why not a top-shot spinner? Fair enough. Throw Rehan Ahmed into the mix, right? It's a big match. Let him show what he's made of. You can't go in with a part-time spinner. I mean, at Headingley, I know Todd Murphy, he bowled brilliantly in India, really well. But at the end of the day, even he's a youngster. This is the Ashes, his first Ashes test match. And Nathan Lyon wasn't there. Had he been there, who knows what might have happened.
Well, the Netherlands have done it. They have qualified for the Men's Cricket World Cup for the first time since 2011. They've made it ahead of the likes of West Indies, Ireland and Zimbabwe, who are all full member nations of the ICC. The Netherlands sealed their place in the tournament in India next October with a thrilling win over Scotland, chasing down the target they needed inside the number of overs required to qualify on net run rate. We're joined now, though, by a member of the Netherlands team for whom reaching this World Cup is even more special because of the fact he's originally from the host nation, India. And he played a superstar role in a particularly famous win during the qualifying tournaments as well. It's middle-order bat Teja Nidamanuru. Teja, welcome to Stumped and congratulations to you. Can you put into words just what it means for you and your teammates to have made this 50-over World Cup?
We've put a huge amount of work leading into the World Cup qualifiers, and to be able to be sitting here now knowing that we're going is something that we're extremely proud of. We played the West Indies in May. Actually, I made my debut against them in the Netherlands. So we kind of had a small taste of obviously what was going to be coming at us, given this particular game in the qualifiers. And we felt very confident and fully prepared. Obviously, they batted very well and got to 370 and the pitch, the pitch was playing well. And we felt that there's no reason why we couldn't go about it. And we had the chase broken down into certain parts and different stages that we'd like to be at. For us as a group, I think, it's the highest score that we've ever scored and the highest chase that we've ever chased. So there was a lot of milestones achieved for our group as a whole. And yeah, look, it was celebrated well. But obviously we knew within the tournament, we went there wanting to qualify and wanting to win. And the coaching staff and the players were, we had a really nice evening and we kind of, turned our attention to the next game. So yeah, look, I would say at about 24 hours or so, the next day, I think a few of us were still thinking, that was amazing. But we knew that, we can play that brand of cricket and we do have the skill to be able to, compete with the best in the world. So yeah, in some senses, it's just really good to see the work coming through.
Teja, this is Sunil. Tell us about the emotions. You're going to go through coming back to India to play as a full international cricketer. What's going to go through your mind?
My granddad, unfortunately, who's passed away a few years ago now, but he's the one who kind of started me really early in my, like as I was growing up in India. He's the one who kind of bought me my first bat and always threw balls at me at home in my first few years. And look, my mum, my sister, and my grandma, and part of my family is living in India, and being able to come back. They live very close to Hyderabad, actually, so where the first two games are against Pakistan and New Zealand. So look, I think that it will be look, it's something that I'm really looking forward to, and it'll be a very proud moment. I'm extremely proud to be going back to India to play, and I'm extremely excited to experience what Indian cricketers experience, which is like nowhere else in the world, where the fanfare or the type of support that they get and the overall atmosphere is also not compared to elsewhere in the world. We got a brief taste of that in Australia at the T20 World Cup, where I didn't play, but I was part of the squad. We played India at the SCG. It could be a single and there would be a roar. So I can only imagine what 60,000 at Bangalore or 65,000 in Bangalore is going to be like. I think it's something that all of us as a group are looking forward to. But yeah, for me especially, to be in front of my family and to be able to go back to the place that I was born and to be able to play there. Look, it's something that I am looking forward to, and I'm very excited about, for sure.
Teja, congratulations on making it, and your journey is a fascinating one. So well done and good luck for the preparations, not least leading into the World Cup. As Teja Nedumanuru, who is part of the Netherlands team, who'll be going to the 50-over World Cup in India. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped here on Akashvani. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sport and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And check us out on YouTube as well. Go to the BBC World Service's YouTube channel to watch us there. My thanks to Sunil Gupta and Clint Wheeldon, and to all of you for listening. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC Sport production for the BBC World Service in association with ABC and Akashvani.